Dear friends, so hope you all are well and keeping safe. My name is Shantanu Barua, and I want to take this moment to extend a warm welcome to each one of you to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about World War II and share some intriguing facts with you. In the wake of what is happening in the world, an interesting fact crossed my mind the other day. Why, in this day and age, we are having war? Look at Ukraine and Russia. They are fighting for the last year and a half without any conclusion. If you go back in history, during World War II, which was the last known big war fought, about 1 million lives were lost every month. But despite that, looks like we have not learned our lessons. Now, thankfully, we're not losing as many lives as we had in the past. But war is a war. It brings devastation. It brings unrest. It taunts about families and individuals. So I thought I'll record a video with my thoughts. Hopefully, there'll be enough pointers to ponder upon so that wise souls such as you listening to it can always fight not to have war again in this world. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Allied power and the Axis power. As you know, Allied powers are the good people fighting the antagonist, the Axis power. I'll first talk about the Axis power, then move on to the Allied power. I hope you like what you hear, and I look forward to hearing your feedback soon. The Axis power were a combination of three countries, Germany, Italy, and Japan. They were all glued together by some facts. First one being expansion. As you know, German, led by Hitler, believed in Aryan race, and they believed in expanding that race by killing other people. They demeaned other people, they were killing Jews, and they were in a complete expansion strategy of taking over Europe and setting their step in Russia. Italy, at that point in time, ruled by Benito Mussolini, had similar sentiments as well. He believed in the old Roman Empire. He wanted to expand like the Romans in the Mediterranean region. And Japan was having a similar feeling as well. They believe in Japanese to be Asian superior country, and they are the superior race. They wanted to rule South Asia. But beyond that, there were other two factors as well. One was about the colonial power. Both Japan and Italy were against it. They believed they were hogging on resources, particularly Japan, who didn't have any oil. They wanted to rule South Asia, and colonial power already there, so they wanted to throw them out. And the third point was communism in Soviet Union, and they were against it, and that kind of brought all the three countries together on some common theme, and they formed what we known as Axis power in the world today. Allied powers, on the other hand, didn't come together as smoothly as the Axis had come together. The story goes back in 1940 when King George VI had a difficult job to choose a prime minister for the country during difficult times. Country was going through deep depression. Money was a problem. Sentiments of the people were low, and Germany was looming as a threat on top of him. And Winston Churchill was not his first choice. So reluctantly, he made him the prime minister, and it was a great choice, as we know from the history. He did a great job. First, he formulated a great team. He hired people, some unconventional one from outside, like Beaver Brook, who was responsible for manufacturing aircraft. He came from media moguls. So he created a great team, and he was reeling behind them. He was a people person, eloquent speaker. He was attaching and gluing the people of Great Britain together through his speeches, which he used to do regularly. And then he was also a person who was running from the front. So when the war was happening, he took over on May 10, 1940, and the first bomber attack on Great Britain from Germany happened in the month of July 1940. And he was there in all situation, occasion. He was meeting people. He was empathizing with them. He was supporting them. So there was a beat in the Great Britain sentiment that yes, we have a good prime minister who can see us through the war. But Churchill knew that alone he cannot win the war. He desperately wanted allies to be by his side, and his biggest ally he thought who could make him win the war was the United States. But Theodore Roosevelt had different things in his mind at that point in time. He did not want to join the war. Various reasons. First, it was in a far-off land. Second, he was not directly involved. Though he was against what Germany was doing, yet he thought it was not his war to fight. He didn't want to lose his people life, and neither he wanted to lose his costly resources. Although he participated through Lend-Lease agreement to support the war indirectly, but he didn't want to come and fight the war alone. And this all happened until 1941 July. On July 22nd, 1941, when Germany attacked Soviet Union. So Soviet Union was attacked under the Operation Barbarossa, and that kind of raised Stalin, and he joined the Allied power and became a part of the force, which was at that point in time, without the United States, only Great Britain and Soviet Union. But Soviet Union was fighting his own war. Great Britain was trying to support, providing whatever material support he can provide. But Stalin was requesting Churchill to open the second front during the war so that Germans can, spread their resources, and hopefully when they spread, Russian can come in and can win the war. But Churchill was very reluctant about it. For various reasons, say he believed that by doing so, he will be in the territory where Germany was. And by doing so, he'll be losing a lot of his people life. He was very reluctant, and his ministers were also supporting his cause. So he didn't say no to it, but he was delaying. He was using delaying tactics, which didn't go well with Stalin. And the second factor was he said that, look, I am fighting the war through East Africa, and I'm going to enter Italy through that, which he did, by the way, later on. But what Stalin believed was that he was running proxy wars. That is not what is going to make them win the war. That kind of brought some rift between Churchill and Stalin. United States was watching from the fence, but that all changed during Pearl Harbor. December 7, 1941, Japan attacked United States. They attacked for various reasons. They wanted to make sure that they believe at that point in time that's their best policy. United States were putting embargo on them, and they wanted oil. They wanted to expand, and the embargo on them. They were criticizing their attack on China. That was not going well with Japan. The diplomatic meets were not, yielding any results. So they thought that an attack on Pearl Harbor can give them the window of opportunity that will cripple US, and by crippling US, they will not bring the naval power back on the eastern side of the Asian side of the fence, and hopefully they can bring them on the table for having a diplomatic conversation on their terms. How wrong they were, as we all know, because right after December 7th, on December 8, 1941, US joined the Allied power, and now there were three of them together. Now, as this all was happening, I just wanted to share another small fact with you that Hitler was not aware of Japan attacking the United States. He was made aware after the attack had happened. The people near to him who were about to break the news were fearful because Hitler had a short temper. He thought that he'll be absolutely outrageous about what Japan has done. But contrary to their belief, he was super happy. He started laughing that, oh my gosh, Japan had the guts. They did the right thing. He thought that will bring US to the war, which according to him was a great strategy so that he can, go all out and win the war accordingly. But he got it wrong in many fronts. By bringing US onto the war was not good for him. Moreover, he underestimated Russia. He thought he can open the eastern border and can march to Berlin at no time. But he was wrong. Winter came in, and the winter was brutal. His army was dying, and that kind of made him lose the war. But anyway, now coming back to the Allied power, the Stalin and Churchill difference was rising, and Roosevelt could feel it. And the reason was simple. He wanted them to attack from the western side, which Churchill was denying. He was using a delaying tactic. He never said no. He said, this is not the right time. We'll do it later, do it later. So at that point in time, Roosevelt thought that it is important to bring the leaders together, the three leaders together. It will be an announcement to the world. He wanted to create a propaganda, and also he wanted to raise a sentiment of his country people. And that's when the Casablanca summit was created. It was supposed to happen in Casablanca, which happened, by the way, in January of 1943. But despite all his request and all his might, Stalin refused to come. He gave a very simple reason. I'm fighting the war alone. My people, my countrymen need me here. He did not join the conference, which was a big blow, according to Roosevelt, which didn't show well to the world that they're allied power, but they're not coming together. And he thought that, the difference between Churchill and Stalin is too big, and to win him over, he has to do it alone. So he started writing to Stalin alone without letting Churchill know, because he somehow thought that he can win him over and can bring him back to the table. So after a lot of coaxing, he refused many a times, but finally they agreed to meet in November of 1940 at Tehran, which was the Tehran summit, and where they all came, and Roosevelt used all his might and force to corner Churchill to commit to a date, and a date when the Western can attack. And he said, we should definitely attack. Churchill was cornered. He tried to, skate away from that, but he could not, and he has to commit to a date. And as we all know, the D-Day happened, which is the Operation Overlord. By the way, all of these operation names were given, the Allied power operation names were given by Churchill. He was known for forming great names. But that happened on June 6, 1944, where Normandy attack happened in France, and rest is history, as they kind of opened the other front. And as Stalin rightly said, because of winter, they were not able to fight the war better. And the rest is history, as we all know. There's another factor I wanted to share with you, that when the attack on Pearl Harbor happened, that was done by Admiral Yamamoto from Japan. That attack was done by him despite his strong belief that they should not fight a war with the United States, but he did so. And on 18 April 1943, US did a counterattack on Japan just to boost the morale of their countrymen, to say that, look, we can also attack Japan. That war was more of a stage show more than a real attack, because they couldn't bring a lot of harm to them. It was about 16 B-25 bomber to come from the USS, naval ship, USS naval ship Hornet. And the reason it was one-sided, because the B-25, which 16 of them he flew, they didn't have that long range. So they flew lower the radar, and the bombing they did was more of a flank of a show. It didn't do much damage, and they couldn't come back. So they have to drop the aircraft, and they landed in China. All the para dropping happened in China. And through China, they were rescued by the Chinese people, and they came back to the United States. It gave him big propaganda. The papers were flashing his name that US attacked Japan, though not much damage was done. But the counterattack from Japan was much more devastating. They could not attack United States, but a village where all the people landed who were rescued and then shipped back to United States, that village was ransacked. The people were killed, women were raped, and Roosevelt felt very deeply about it, and he thought that it was not the right thing to do. Just because for a propaganda, he got entire village massacred. But anyways, he took his revenge though, and that happens to Operation Vengeance, which happened again 1 year after that attack. April 18 attack on 1943 is known as Captain 1942. I'm sorry, April 18, 1940, known as Captain Doolittle attack, which was led by James Doolittle. On April 18, 1943, he took the revenge through Operation Vengeance, when the intelligence forces in the United States deciphered some of the secret code from Japan, where he learned that Yamamoto was traveling to some country in Southeast Asia. And they intercepted that message, and in a very secretive way, he was bombed and killed during that mission. Japan never acknowledged it. And in fact, they never released the news up until 1 month of his death. And they simply said he was died in a counterattack, serving the nation. So that's a small tidbit for you, that how US took revenge of what happened on Pearl Harbor. Also, as you have seen, that Allied forces were not designed to come together, but they came together because of forces of nature, or what happened during that war. And also, as you can see in Axis power, when people believe on themes which are larger than life, which are not real, they can basically cause devastation to the world. So hope you like what you heard in this video. I look forward to getting your comments, and please let me know what your thoughts you have after listening to this video. Thank you once again.